Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the feature race at Belmont Park on Friday is a good one. Let's take a look at the field for the Carle Place Stakes. 3-year-olds, 7/8 of a mile on the Widener turf. It's a big field. It's a competitive field. How competitive? Wait until it's time for our picks. We have a very different opinion in this race, and you can make a case for 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's just such a wide open race, Dan. There's not only there's some talent. I do think there's some talent in the field, but there's just a lot going on with, horses switching surfaces and, trying different distances in here. I mean, there's a lot going on, and there's some talent in here as well.
Curious to see how this pace is going to play out, however, Mike, because there's not exactly a ton of blazers in this field. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. Wolfie's Dyna Ghost is pretty quick, and I would expect this horse to be close to the pace. Crimea River on the outside has tactical speed. The number 7 Town of Gold stretching out from Laurel, tactical speed, but this pace might actually be sort of on the moderate side.
It'll be interesting to see what everybody does. I think there is enough speed in here to at least think it's going to be a fair pace. And I do think the key to all that stuff is the 8 Wolfie's Dyna Ghost. They've run him twice on turf. They didn't use his speed in either of those races going longer. I wonder, Dan, if today's just the day they say, you know what, he's better when he makes the lead. We have to put him on the front.
To me, the key to this race is the number 1 Crowded Trade, who's going to be trying turf for the first time for trainer Chad Brown. This horse was second in the Gotham, third in the Wood Memorial. He was very green in all of those races. This form cycle, Chad Brown has concentrated keeping him sprinting. He had no chance when third behind Jackie's Warrior in the Amsterdam, and I have no idea what to make of his last race, the race where Baby Yoda ran a 743 Beyer speed figure at Saratoga. He's going to try turf for the first time, and while there's not a ton of turf pedigree, it's worth noting that last workout went in company with Value Proposition, who's a stakes winner on turf for Chad. I think this horse might handle it.
I think he might too. For a horse like him, it just has to all come down to price for me, Dan. If they wind up betting him, just based off of, the stuff that you laid out, that he started out like a really nice horse. He's kept good company. He's got those, those names in his running lines that people tend to gravitate toward. If they bet him off of that stuff, I just don't want any part of this horse. But if he's some kind of a price, I guess I could make a case for using him somewhere. He is a more than ready. The dam didn't win on the turf, but her figures held up. She was 0 for 3 on grass, but she ran her race on that surface, and she was a winner on both dirt and synthetic. So it's kind of a versatile pedigree. I do think he's a talented horse. I do like him sprinting. I don't want a short price on him.
Trainer Tom Morley's having a fantastic year, and he has a sharp one in the 2 Ocala Dream, who's won 3 out of his last 4 starts. This New York bred did handle open company in the race we'll show you right now. Last month at Belmont Park, going a mile and a 16th. You're going to see him on the outside. He's going to grind down this field, and I didn't think there was a ton of pace for him to run at in here. He ran well, and he's run well sprinting in the past also.
Yeah, he's a very nice horse. He's a little bit underrated, and I just like that he's very tactical. When they run him, no matter what distances they run him at, if there's a lot of pace, he sits it out. If there's no pace, he sits up close. He just got the bob there to get a nice win last time for Morley, who so far since Belmont's open, he's been winning everything. This horse is actually a little underrated, and he's a horse that I don't think you want to just, overlook too quickly at a price.
Smokin' J and Arzak, they have a little bit of a feud going on. Smokin' J was beaten by Arzak 2 back in the Tom Ridge Stakes. That was over synthetic at Presque Isle. I thought he ran well that day. Angled outside, got bumped, just missed. And he got the trip last time out in the Allied Forces at Belmont, going 3/4 of a mile. Let's watch that race. And Louis Saez just parked him in behind horses, found the pocket here, and now he's going to get to the outside, and he'll alter course unimpeded, and Smokin' J does the rest.
Yeah, got a very good trip in this race. The old in-out, and he drives these 2 horses down the lead. The 2 horses in front of him were sort of up on the pace together the entire way, and they were still there at the end. This horse ran well in here. It was, to me, the most surprising thing about this race is that he was 15-1, because he looked like a contender on the way in. You liked him that day. You were completely right about it, and you got paid for it. I don't think the 7 is going to be, that big a deal for him. I think he'll get the 7, Dan. The question is, what kind of a price will he be this time? And do you want to take a much shorter price on what looks like a tougher race?
Now, the 7 shouldn't be a problem for Indian Lake. He's won at 6. He's won at a mile and a half. He's won from on the lead, and he's won from just off of it. Moving back to turf should be okay for him. He was probably in too tough in the Virginia Derby 2 starts back. The runner-up of that race, a nice horse, came back to run 3rd in the Jockey Club Derby with a 93 Beyer. Even though this horse has shown sort of route speed, I can see him getting real close in this spot.
Yeah, I can too. I can see them just trying to use his speed again and see what happens. Listen, his turf form is fine, I guess. None of his races make me want to bet him against this field, especially, Jamie Ness, he wins at a really high percentage in the Mid-Atlantic. He doesn't win at all in New York. This horse is going to be a big price, though. So if you like him, I'm not going to knock him. I'm just not going to bet him.
Easy Time, very lightly raced for trainer Mark Casse, coming off a useful effort sprinting in the Grade 2 Franklin Simpson. Let's watch that race right now. We were disappointed in his prior start, Mike, the Hall of Fame. We thought he would run a lot better. Here he's kind of down inside in the Franklin Simpson, and right about here it looks like he's going nowhere. And eventually he's going to kick into gear late and get up for second behind a European invader named the Lear Jet. This was an improved performance for Easy Time. I still don't know how good he is, but he fits on numbers.
He does. This race that we're watching right now suggests that he does fit here, and it suggests that he really improved from his prior couple of turf starts. I don't know how much I buy it, Dan. I still don't think he ran that well last time. He got a really good trip down on the inside all the way. He was under the whip from the 5/16 pole in there. It was a very bunched up finish behind the winner. I just don't think that he ran that well last time, and he's at the price he is on the morning line, he is not for me.
The 6 Arzak got the better of Smokin' J in the Tom Ridge. But go back in your formulator past performances, folks, and watch the video replay of the Allied Force and just compare trips. A lot different story. Smokin' J was able to get out of the gate, get into position, got to the outside, and Arzak didn't break very well and had to come the long way around.
Yeah, I do think that played a role in the outcome of that race last time. I'm not saying that Arzak was necessarily going to win, but man, after he got bumped at the start, he got bumped pretty good between horses at the start, and he wound up last. And at that point, I think, Irad Ortiz just sort of felt like, I'm just going to sit here. I don't want to make a long run with him. I don't want to go too wide on the turn. He just sat and sat, and he sat even longer than that. And he didn't take him to the outside until they got into the stretch. This horse actually ran at the end, but he didn't have any chance at all to make a real impact in that race. I thought his effort two back was really good. I know it was on synthetic, but I thought he ran well that day. And he has more tactical speed than he's shown in his last two turf races, Dan. I don't know what the plans were in either that Monmouth race over yielding turf or that last one, but they rated this horse almost into submission. They do not have to do that.
Town of Gold, number 7, stakes placed in New York, was really cleverly spotted by a high percentage barn last time out. They ran him 5.5 at Laurel. We're going to watch that race. Now, 5.5 at Laurel plays a little longer because of the second wire finish and the extremely long stretch. And Town of Gold needs just about every step of this long stretch to get up. I think it bodes well for him going 7 furlongs, Mike. And he does have that race last year at 2. This is only his third start as a 3-year-old. Maybe he can take a step forward.
Yeah, maybe it can. Yeah, the 7 furlongs on turf here at Belmont, it can be a tough distance for true sprinters to get. I don't know if this horse is necessarily a true sprinter. I will just say the 2 6-furlong races at Aqueduct late last year, he didn't run poorly in either of those races. Those are good horses. Rest Me Red and It's a Gamble, the horses that beat him, those are 2 pretty good turf sprinters.
Wolfie's Dyna Ghost began his career with a lot of hype, and why not? He's got the big Sadler's Joy pedigree. He won 2 of his first 3 starts on dirt, which left everyone salivating what's to come when he eventually switches to turf. Well, we're still waiting. In the Hall of Fame, he was up close to the pace, didn't really work out. Similar situation in the Better Talk Now. Let's watch that race right now. He broke fine. He sat second off the pace setter, and he kind of just runs around there, Mike. And I think the point that you made earlier during the pace projector segment is well taken. He just might simply want to be in front.
Yeah, I do think that's, at least in my opinion, they have to try that at least this time and see. Personally, Dan, when I look at his overall form, I just think, despite the pedigree, that he's just a better dirt horse. But we'll see what happens if they decide to give him a chance to make the front on the turf, because I don't like either of his 2 turf races. The one we just watched, I didn't think he ran well at all with a perfect trip. But he didn't make the lead either time. So maybe if they just send him to the front and they cut him back to 7 here, it'll be a different story.
We saw Smokin' J ship in from Presque Isle Downs to win the stake at Belmont. The 9 Resist the Devil's going to try to do the same. And these connections have pulled some upsets in the past in New York. This one's won 2 out of his last 3, but he's been in for a tag in his last 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's improved certainly in his last, few starts. 2 wins from his last three, and almost 3 wins. He just missed in between there. I don't know about him as a turf horse. I guess he's got some pedigree for, and as you mentioned, this trainer does tend to ship in, and his horses run well at prices.
Rustler is an intriguing horse at a price simply because he's coming off a 91 Beyer speed figure victory. Now, when we watch this race at Kentucky Downs going 6.5, you're going to note two things. You're going to note that the pace basically holds up. Rustler sat second, is going to go right by, and you're going to note that there really isn't anything coming behind him, which makes me wonder what he faced. But he ran a fast race, and if he runs back to that race, he's somewhat of a contender here at a price, and he does have some speed.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it does feel like he could get forward in this race, and maybe he can use that to his advantage. To me, he was just another horse that was kind of difficult to make. These Kentucky Downs races can just be really tough to evaluate, Dan. He got a nice figure for that win last time, and he was game to get the job done. I personally don't like any of his other races.
John Terranova does a really good job with his stock, and he got the 11 Crimea River to the winner's circle with a solid Beyer speed figure at Belmont. Let's watch that 3/4 mile maiden race on September the 19th, and he sat just off the leaders on the outside. He makes a 3-wide bid to the front, and once he changes leads right there, the race is all but over. This is a pretty big step up in class because while these are maidens, I'm not sure they're the strongest maidens he beat.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think this horse has some talent, but it does feel like he's taken a major step up in class for this. But listen, I mean, he ran well winning that race, and it came back with a solid figure. He won very easily in his race two back off the layup there, that first turf start. I mean, he did not have a fair chance in there. He just got buried down on the rail all through the stretch and couldn't get clear.
Now, we talked about the rail horse for Chad. Crowded Trade is one of the keys. The horse on the outside, the 12 Snowhouse, kind of feel the same way. Third in the Dwyer, overmatched perhaps in the Curlin last time out. They've given him a break. They've gotten him back to turf. This horse has the pedigree to still be a very nice horse for a very dangerous trainer.
Yeah, I thought this was an interesting horse in here. And listen, he's already got the turf race, so you can sort of evaluate him off of it. And I feel like when you go back to his career debut, I didn't think he ran poorly at all in that race, Dan. He was very green. I thought they took a big hold of him. He got shuffled back from behind horses. And then to me, he just never looked like he was in a comfortable position there. And he actually still ran at the end of that race. I think this horse is actually pretty good. And I like him coming back to turf.
Wide open. How? Let's take a look at our picks in the Carle Place Stakes. That's 8 different selections. Mike's sticking with Arzak. He liked him last time out. The trip didn't work out. I like him at 7 furlongs, Mike, and I agree with you. I think they should get him into the race a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think they can get him a better position early this time. I mean, last time it wasn't really Irad's fault. He got bumped at the start, and that was it. So if he gets out of the gate cleanly, I think he can get a better trip. And like you, I think 7 could really work for this horse. He's going to be a price once again. I have to go back to him and give him one more chance. And I also want to use that 12 getting back to turf.
Mike made the point for me when we talked about Crowded Trade. It's all about price. Our colleague David Aragona has him at 6-1 on the morning line. I think that's fair. I'm not sure we'll get it, but I'd even take 9-2. I think he just classes up very well with these horses, like that last turf work. Wide open. 6-12, 8-3 for Mike, 110, 11-5 for me. It's the Carle Place Stakes, the feature race at beautiful Belmont Park on Friday. Good luck.